So hello my super friends, welcome to another episode of Rai Comics and I'm your host Aryan Roy. A live action Ben 10 series is on the early stages of development by Warner Bros. And it will be coming on the Warner Brothers upcoming streaming service. And I believe if the series is handled with care and if there's a good story arc, it will be great because the previous live action movies didn't do justice to Ben 10. And being a 2000s kid, I can say without a doubt that Ben 10 was one of the best cartoons of all time. And of course, I'm referring to the previous series and not the shit that is being displayed on Cartoon Network nowadays. It is also interesting to think that who will be the villain of the TV series. So today I have decided to do a top 10 Ben 10 villains whom we want to see in the live action web series. So without further delay, let's begin. Coming on number 10 is Dr. Aloysius James Animo, commonly known as Dr. Animo. He was once a genius genetic scientist, but he had to quit his job for performing twisted or illegal experiments on animals. He further became more crazy after an award which he was supposed to get was given to his colleague. After that, he created a transmodulator that could mutate animals and also bring dead creatures back, such as a wax statue of woolly mammoth and a skeleton of Tyrannosaurus. He did this to take revenge against the other scientists who betrayed him, but in the process he was stopped by Ben. Thus, he also grew great hatred towards Ben and became one of the most well-known villains of the series, usually trying to create mutant animal monster army. He was also able to use DNA information from the Omnitrix to enhance his creatures, and that also not once but twice. Ben has also encountered a future version of Animo during the events of Ben 10,000. He has also made significant appearances in the Ben 10 Alien Force, where he conquered most of the Null Void, and in the meantime making plans to conquer Earth. Coming on number 9 is Malware. Malware is a red galvanic mechamorph who absorbs technology to evolve himself. Malware was originally a yellow galvanic mechamorph whose life code was corrupted by the creation of Galvan B. He also has razor-sharp physique and menacing claws in addition to superhuman strength and natural abilities. Though he was defeated by Ben on Galvan B, he followed the 11-year-old boy to Earth. On Earth, he managed to search a copy of the original design of Omnitrix for Dr. Psychoboss to create the Nemetrix. Prior to the creation of the Nemetrix, Malware's body structure was altered by a blast that altered his sub-molecular design, eventually turning him into a monster. Malware also has a ton of powers like superhuman strength, durability, shape-shifting, energy blast, technology, and a lot others. Also in the first part of the episode Showdown, he removed feedback from the Omnitrix and destroyed him. Sounds amazing? Because it is. Though later Ben regained feedback and placed Malware in a petrified state, this example is enough to show Malware's overloaded powers. Moving on number 8, we have Maltron. Maltron is a rogue chronosapien and desires to rule time itself. He was also the mastermind behind the Time War. He is extremely cruel and does not show any mercy to his opponents in the battlefield. He can also use his time-controlling power to use it against his opponent's own attacks. Maltron can also sometimes grow very arrogant and cocky during battles, and when he is confident that the match is in his hand and the win is certain. But as admitted by himself, he has a big mouth and always reveals his plan too soon. Now let's talk about some of his powers and abilities. Maltron has the ability of dimension jumping, time travel, enhanced strength, durability, chronokinesis, and others. Appearing on number 7, or rather, ghostly appearing on number 7 is Ghost Freak. Zaskar, aka Ghost Freak, was one of the Ectonorite High Ectolord of the Annual System, who was trapped in the Omnitrix in the form of Ghost Freak, and whenever Ben turned into Ghost Freak, he gained some of Zaskar's personalities. After he was freed from the Omnitrix, he became one of the most dangerous enemies of Ben. He also took over the Circus Freak trio to fight Ben, but they were all defeated one by one, and this temporarily marked the end of Zaskar. But when he was revived again by the Transylvanian scientist Dr. Victor, who later became the villain of the same name. So I think it is enough of Ghost Freak's past, and let's move on to his powers and abilities. He has pretty much each and every power possessed by Ben in the form of Ghost Freak, like flight, ghost physiology, telekinesis, tentacle extension, and others. On number 6, we have a tie between Kyber and Albedo. Starting with Kyber, he is one of the main antagonists of the Omniverse other than Malware and Dr. Psychoboss. Kyber was very serious and has a non-nonsense attitude and never treats his opponents as powerless before him. He also takes great pride in his hunting skills, and he is in fact one of the greatest huntsmen in the galaxy, who has hunted down both sapient and non-sapient. To further help him, he has two dog-like pets like Penancian and other Zed. Penancian had the power to self-duplicate, and Zed was one of the able to transform to the natural predators of all of Ben's alien. Now let's move on to Albedo. Albedo was Asma's former assistant, who tried to recreate Omnitrix, and by mistake, he trapped himself into the 11-year-old body of Ben. Eventually, Albedo was disgusted and enraged for being trapped in the body of a human. So he tried several times to recreate Omnitrix from Ben and again turn himself to normal. Now let's come on to his powers and abilities. He has access to most of the aliens of Ben like Wrath, Swampfire, Diamond Head, Humongousaur, and even Webbit. He has also formed a copy of Ultimatrix and has also access to most of the Ultimate aliens like Ultimate Artiguana, Ultimate Rat, Ultimate Spider Monkey, to name a few. This also allows him to go toe to toe with Ben, and this sounds really cool. Making his appearance on the 5th position is Ben's best friend himself, and that is Kevin Levin. Initially, when Kevin arrived on the classic Ben 10 series, he became one of Ben's most frequently encountered enemies. But later he became one of Ben's most notable ally and Gwen's love interest. After his stepfather convinced his mom to throw him out of the house after he blew up their own home, he ended up living on the streets, where he first met Ben. This was the time when he absorbed the powers of the Omnitrix and with the power later created a hybrid of all Ben's aliens. However, his powers were changed in alien force and he got the powers to absorb any material. I think this is sort of cool. In the future, he was able to absorb all the powers of the aliens of Omnitrix and became Kevin 11,000. And I think at this stage he was one of the most, if not the most threatening villain of Ben 10,000. On the 4th spot we have Dagon, one of the major antagonists of Ben 10 Ultimate Alien. He is the founder of the two modern-day religious cults, that is Historica and Flamekeeper's Circle. They were believed to have visited Earth and have offered humans alien tech. He is also to have believed to come back to Earth and bring the Golden Age, when there will be no longer any war among people. Moving forward, Dagon is actually an ancient entity believed to be more than 1700 years old. He has tried to invent the dimension several times with the help of many Lucabras during the Earth's medieval period, but he was defeated and sent back to his dimension by Sir George, who cut out his Dagon's chest with Escalon, a powerful weapon given to him by Asmat centuries ago. Anyway, moving on to the present day, he was the first mentioned in the episode Flamekeeper's Circle, where Vilgax was mistakenly thought to be Dagon by the Flamekeepers. And actually, to be honest, I also thought Dagon to be some upgraded version of Vilgax when I first saw him. Anyway, in the episode The Ultimate Enemy, Dagon attempted to break the seal and converts most of Earth's people into the Historica to be his followers, and for this he took over the control of Gwen's mind to finish his task. Though this attempt failed, but Dagon succeeded in entering this reality and also destroyed the seal from his side. He later also defeated Ben and killed Sir George, but he was finally defeated by Vilgax and Vilgax became the owner of all the Dagon's powers. I think the fact that Dagon defeated Ben and Sir George alone is insane, and so he is worthy member of the 4th spot. The hybrids belong to a species called the Atassians, and they are extremely racist and believe that they are above all other species. They are also believed that they are the first species to arrive on any planet, although there is no evidence of this fact. They are also racist to the extent that they believe that their blood is purest of all other life forms, and the other life form need to be replaced by this blood. In simple words, they are alien Nazis. But their idea went against them and weakened their immune system. This further led to decline of the species. Although they didn't want to get extinct alone, and so they attacked all other species of the universe, turning them into DNA aliens. But at last, Ben used the Omnitrix to reconstruct their DNA and save them from extinction, and then the Council declared Rensracing as the new hybrid supreme, and he brought the war to an end. Now let's move on to their powers and abilities. They have intense physical strength. They can also fly with their sport wings. They also can shoot fangs and darts from their big claws. And at last but not the least, hybrids can open up their chests, revealing root-like tentacles, with which they suck water from the ground. But they also have a weakness, and that is Earth's warm climate. They came from a very cold planet, Augusta, and so they suffer dehydration and other problems in warmer climates of Earth. And due to this weakness, prevents them from acquiring the number 2 spot. Talking about number 2, let's move on to our 2nd spot. At the 2nd spot is Egregor. Egregor is a cruel, menacing, sadistic sociopath Osmosian who is obsessed for hunger of power. Unlike most of other Ben's enemies, Egregor doesn't prefer some kind of robot or army to execute his plan. Instead, he executes his plan himself. Egregor first appeared on the episode Fame, and in that episode, after Bivalvan was defeated, he explained that Egregor had captured 4 more aliens like him to absorb their power, but they were able to escape from for a short period of time. Then the story unwraps in several episodes, and it was shown that Egregor had succeeded in absorbing the power of a Pripiatosian bee, that is Energy, and Telepedian, Armadillo, an Amperian Amphibian, a Geokilon Adio Terraspin, and an Orician Water Hazard, and became Ultimate Egregor. Now let's move on to his powers and abilities. Aggregor has a wide array of powers. This includes energy absorption, life force absorption, matter absorption, superhuman level strength and durability. In the ultimate aggregor form, he has access to 5 of Ben's aliens, that is Terraspin, Water Hazard, Armor Driller, Energy and Amphibian. Thus it is no doubt he is possessor of incredible power, and this makes him worthy for the second spot. Before revealing our top pick, if you are a Ben 10 fan, you must have already guessed our number 1 spot, and that is Vilgax. Vilgax is a giant octopus or giant squid-like warlord who has been Bane's main antagonist in Ben 10, Ben 10 Alien Force and Ben 10 Ultimate Alien. Yes, you heard that right, he was a top antagonist in 3 forms of Ben 10, and so there is no doubt he is the most fan-favorite villain of Ben 10. In spite of immense power, he still wants control over Omnitrix and claims that activating Omnitrix's master control is just a child play for him. And not to mention, Vilgax has a large array of drones like gigantic robot drones, mega droids, biodes, basic drones, flying drones, and there are so many. So anyway, let's talk about Vilgax's sum of powers. Vilgax has superhuman strength, superhuman durability. He also has great fighting skills and also has a large collection of weapons. Though he is possessor of some of the great powers, it is interesting to know that one of Ben's enemies who has gone toe-to-toe with Vilgax is Jaskar, our 7th contestant. The situation was so intense that Vilgax was forced to take Ben's help. So, this brings us to the end of another episode of Roy Comics, and I think this information will be sufficient for a non-Ben 10 fan who wants to enjoy the Ben 10 live action series. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to Roy Comics. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Till then, peace.